She was just a waitress, crying by a grave with her child, until a billionaire saw her. What happened next changed all their lives forever. Stay until the end, you won't believe what he did. It was a gloomy Sunday morning when billionaire Thomas Welling visited his late son's grave. Rain fell gently, and the cemetery was quiet except for the rustling leaves. Thomas, dressed in a black coat, clutched a bouquet of lilies in his hand. He had visited this spot every month since his son David's passing 2 years ago. As he walked closer to the headstone, something caught his eye. A young black woman sat by a nearby grave, weeping softly with a small child beside her. She wore a faded diner uniform, soaked from the rain, yet didn't seem to notice. The child clung to her leg, looking confused and sad. Thomas hesitated, unsure whether to interrupt their sorrow. But something about her tears stirred a deep feeling inside him. "Are you all right, miss?" he asked gently, stepping closer with concern in his voice. The woman looked up, startled, wiping her eyes quickly with her sleeve. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean to disturb anyone." Thomas shook his head. "You're not disturbing me. Are you visiting someone special?" She nodded and motioned to the grave. "My fiancé, he was your son's best friend." Thomas raised his eyebrows, surprised. "You knew David?" Tears returned to her eyes. "He used to help us. Gave us hope when we had nothing." The child looked up and whispered, "Mama, I'm cold." Thomas took off his coat without a second thought and wrapped it around the boy. "Come," he said, "let's get out of the rain for now." They sat under the cemetery's old stone canopy, watching the rain fall. She introduced herself as Jasmine, a waitress at a local diner. Her fiancé, Marcus, served in the military with David. They were like brothers. They both dreamed of helping others, Jasmine said, her voice trembling. But after David died, Marcus was never the same. She looked down. And now, he's gone too. A car crash last week. Thomas placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "I'm truly sorry." She nodded. "I didn't know where else to go." This is where Marcus found peace. The boy snuggled into his mother's side, still wrapped in Thomas's coat. For the first time in years, Thomas felt something break inside, empathy. After some silence, Thomas asked, "What will you do now?" Jasmine looked away. "I have no idea. Rent's due, and I can barely afford food." Thomas was quiet for a moment, then said softly, "Do you trust me?" She looked into his eyes, kind, warm, and sincere. He took out his phone and made a quick call. "James," he said, "send a car to Greenvale Cemetery. And prepare a guest room." Jasmine gasped. "Wait, what are you doing?" "You helped my son when he needed a friend," Thomas replied. "Now let me help you." Tears rolled down her cheeks again, this time from hope. Later that evening, Thomas brought them to his estate, where warmth awaited. Jasmine looked around, overwhelmed by the grandeur of the mansion. A hot meal was waiting, clothes were brought for both her and her son. Thomas asked no questions, just offered comfort and a safe place. The child laughed for the first time in days, playing with Thomas's dog. "I don't know how to thank you," Jasmine whispered after dinner. "You don't need to," Thomas replied. "My son would have wanted this." He smiled faintly, eyes misty with memories. That night, Jasmine and her son slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. And Thomas, alone in his study, felt his heart healing too. Over the next few weeks, Thomas helped Jasmine find stability again. He connected her with grief counseling, childcare, and job training. She started working at one of his charities, helping women in crisis. Each day, she walked with renewed strength, her spirit no longer broken. The boy began attending a good school nearby, making new friends. Thomas would often read to him in the evenings, forming a surprising bond. Jasmine, once a stranger in mourning, became like family to him. Neighbors noticed the change in Thomas. He smiled more, talked more. The mansion, once quiet and heavy with grief, now echoed with laughter. A miracle was unfolding quietly, one day at a time. Months passed, and Jasmine organized a community memorial for fallen soldiers. She included David and Marcus, sharing their stories of loyalty and love. Thomas attended, tears falling openly during the tribute. He spoke publicly for the first time in years, honoring both young men. "My son may be gone, but his legacy lives on," he said. "Through Jasmine, through her son, through all of us who remember." The crowd gave a standing ovation, even reporters were speechless. Photos of the event spread online, calling it the most touching moment of the year. People from around the country sent letters, sharing how they were inspired. Thomas and Jasmine became symbols of healing through kindness. One day, Jasmine took Thomas to the same cemetery. They stood between two graves, David's and Marcus. Fresh flowers were laid on both, and the boy placed a small toy car between them. "Thank you for being my angel," Jasmine whispered to the stones. Thomas nodded. "And thank you for bringing light back to my life." They stood in silence, honoring the men who brought them together. The sun broke through the clouds, casting a golden glow on the grass. It felt like a sign, peace, finally, had found them. The boy tugged Thomas's hand and said, "Can we come back again tomorrow?" Thomas smiled, tears in his eyes. "As many times as you want." That winter, Thomas legally became the boy's guardian. Jasmine had never asked, but Thomas insisted, it felt right. A new family had formed not through blood, but through love and loss. Every holiday, they visited both graves, leaving gifts and candles. Jasmine often said, "From the worst day came the biggest blessing." Thomas agreed, knowing he'd never forget that rainy day. The day he found a crying waitress who changed his world. She didn't just heal his loneliness, she gave his life new meaning. Together, they built something beautiful from the ashes of sorrow. And the world watched, deeply moved by their unexpected bond. Years later, the boy, now a teenager, spoke at a charity gala. "My mom and I were broken. Then Mr. Thomas found us." He smiled at the billionaire sitting in the front row. "He didn't just save us, he became our family." The crowd was silent, many wiping away tears. Thomas stood, applauding with pride, his heart full. From grief grew love. From pain came purpose. And from a rainy graveyard meeting, a miracle was born. Not all heroes wear capes, some offer kindness in silence. And what he did that day, it truly left everyone speechless.